Hello, I'm Tomlin's Nyback. We're at day 207 of 365 days towards racial change. Friday is upon us. I hope you have some great plans for the weekend. I hope it kicks off with a stop in to racial change. Get a checkup, get a racial checkup before you head out the door into your weekend. I am here talking about black issues, how we get along in America, what's new. We talk about current events, politics, history, economics, geographics, all things above, spiritual things pertaining to us and the world. Big burden of mine, as if you've hung around here any length of time, is the one concern with the mind of black people. Are black people living lives empowered, self-determined, um, controlled by their mental volition in the world? You know, I want black minds to emerge powerful, secure, confident. You know, my universal thought is like, hey, you're born in the world, you have a right to the world. I only have two laws that govern me. I don't follow them all the time, but it's real simple. You know, do no harm to self and do no harm to the community. Boy, what would the world be like if those were just the two laws we um, followed? You know, I can see the power in that, and why some of our spiritual leaders um, promote that kind of thinking. Just do no harm to self, do no harm to the community. You know, let be. You know, we all got a right for some carve out some space and to sustain ourselves. Get out of each other's way. Stop raping each other. You know. So for the black mind, if you're of the same kind of orientation as myself in America, in the world, um, you may be finding yourself emerging, like coming to feel like, to hell with the rest. Some of this life has got to be my way. It's my right simply because I'm here to live it. I'm here to live it. It's not all to be slaved out to you all the time. So I'm going through an experience right now of living my own empowerment, and I'm very fine with it. In a way, I feel like if you're familiar with the Lord of the Rings series, Tolkien's work, and little Frodo, and he's wearing the ring, and he's got to throw it in the Mount Doom, in the fire, and stuff like that. But he's with Lady Galadriel, and he says something like, "Oh, I'm alone and all this," and she's like, "To be a ring bearer is to be alone. To bear your cross, hold a banner. Sometimes you may be a movement of one, not a very unrealistic. So some of the greatest movements started with the one, so cutting a new path, um, making a new trail where there was never one. Everybody's going down a well-worn path. I grew up in the woods, so I understand trails pretty well. I'm not some kind of nature guide or anything like that, but if you're in a thickly wooded area and there's a sandy um, path to go along where the brush doesn't grow well. Well, it's been trodden. Well, it's an area with a lot of traffic, you know. But sometimes you need to cut your own path, make a brand new one, in that virgin growth where no one's ever gone. Is your mind able to do that? Come out from under. Consequently, for the white mind, that may be on that um, well-worn path. It seems very wide and expansive and easygoing for them, from my perspective, my limited perspective. The privilege, the power, the expectation of favor in this country and the world for white folks, do they understand what they're living in, or is that privilege and power a blind spot for them? Well, they're very interesting issues to look at and contemplate as going forward, especially with this project, and how us looking at each other mentally in the world. Financial literacy for black folks. Do we understand money, how it works, how to save it, how to make it work for us, how to send it uh, forward, how to escape boom and bust cycles in our economy. I'm finding out they're very much engineered and expected. There are people who know how to leverage boom and bust financial cycles in such a way as to profit in either way. I'm trying to get my momentum going. Don't have a whole lot of energy to focus in on that just yet. But get some financial literacy. Understand money. Go beyond knowing how to start a bank account. You need some products in your life that can sustain you and outpace inflation. Do you understand inflation as a hidden tax and all? Very good stuff. Minimum wage. Oh, they just increased minimum wage again. Oh boy, oh boy. It doesn't matter because it's all relative. Prices go up with wages and stuff. Inflation only devalues the dollar. It's all this complicated. The book I'm reading, Creature from Jekyll Island, talks about money scientists, economic scientists, who are doing their financial alchemy on the system. And unfortunately, the majority of people of all races, colors, are suffering under the weight. And it's from a lack of illiteracy, financial illiteracy happening. I'm inspired by a man named Dr. Claude Anderson. I've read 3 of his works. First, a Black History Reader, 101 Questions You Never Thought to Ask, Black Labor, White Wealth, Search for Power and Economic Justice, and Dr. Anderson's National Plan to Empower Black America, Powernomics. You can find Dr. Anderson at powernomics.com. I'm glad his work, I don't know the man personally, his work came into my life just in time to bring me, I guess, back from the edge. And so I'm able to put some features on these specters in my life that have been hounding me for decades. Behind me, you see the hashtag #us2 symbol. Find black women supporting each other, conversing there. Check out Black Enough, BLAGGENUF. Google it, you'll find more black support there. If you can't find your flavor, do what I did. Start your own little project. See how it goes. I got a private list of email subscribers who we have our own little forum going on. And, well, like I say, we are in our extended series, Uncle Tom's Cabin. I'm going on vacation. And so I just want to do something fun. We can even consider this as like a summer break, moving to Uncle Tom's Cabin along. I want to finish some of these texts before the year is over. Uncle Tom's Cabin is at the top of my list. We want to get through this text. There's some important stuff coming up. So I definitely want to give it its time and space in the year before we leave this project. All right, and now it's not all story time. If you're new, this is not purely Uncle Tom channel. Look around at some of my other posters, 200 and some odd others, where we talk about other in-depth, um, more technical things, specifically about racism, things like that. We're using Uncle Tom's Cabin to have some fun and have some serious talking points. Chapter 23 today. This is going to be we meet a new character. His name is Henrique. Now he's maybe a little older than Eva. There's the St. Clairs are still at the lake, recuperating. Maybe there's some hope for Eva's recovery. She's not doing well physically, mentally, spiritually. She is in the clouds. She's in the heavens, but her body is just maybe it's the spiritual weight and power emerging that's killing her. Like one of those things. Um, Henrique is St. Clair's nephew. St. Clair has a twin brother named Alfred. So Alfred and Henrique come to this St. Clair summer home of Lake Pontchartrain, north of New Orleans, and to visit. And Henrique he's like his father. He's very aristocratic. The aristocrats, the aristocrats are like, it's narcissism on a group level. The world's for them. The world's to be exploited for its resources, minerals, whether that labor is human, animal, whatever. We're just looking at checks and balances on our Excel spreadsheets, your feelings. They dehumanize everyone. Dehumanization isn't reserved just for black folks. Dehumanization is reserved for anyone with a potential to increase their wallets, their position in society. That's the aristocrat. And Henrique, because he's preteen and like children with a lot of power, he's very irresponsible. He's overindulgent in it. He's quick to use it and force it. He's got slaves. We find most of the white children, Henrique, and if you remember George up north that ran away with his family up to heading toward Canada. George's master's son was abusive to George. So in the story you don't have a lot of white children with a high sense of moral fiber around the slaves. They're abusive, immature, aren't being tempered with all of this incredible power that they have. Even over their older black slaves, stuff like that. Eva's the exception, but so far the white children we run into are very abusive to their slaves. That's Henrique. That's our introduction. Our first opening scene of this young man is he's going to go horseback riding with Eva, And Henrique has his own personal slave, about the same age, a mulatto boy uh, with curly hair. You know, he's a mixture that some white man has been with his black slave, and there's these mulatto, quadroon, octoroon people coming out. And they're very attractive, especially the women. You know, very attractive. And so this young slave named Dodo is Henrique's personal slave, and but the horses apparently are presented besmirched with dirt. Henrique flies into a rage and puts on this show in front of Eva and everybody. He throws Dodo down and beats him until Henrique is tired, the text says. You know, and he's spitting curses at him and degrading him, verbally abusing him, and all that, and just making this big show. You know, and the text might indicate some um, some competition there. You know, since Dodo's good looking, Enrique's white is a white dude, and all that, and you see this, you know, this Enrique's stats making his dominance known. Throw the slave down, beat him, and stuff. You know, and he's telling him that the horse is dirty, and like, why'd you bringing me a dirty horse? I'm, you know, going to ride with my beautiful cousin here and stuff. And you're messing up the whole thing. Tom interjects and says, look, you know, the horse has a tendency to roll, which horses roll, and the horse rolled on the way there, I guess. That's how the dirt came to be on it. Enrique tells Tom to shut up. Shut up. You know, quiet, slave. And, you know, Tom obeys. But in the course of the scene, Eva's watching this. And what do we know about Eva? She's very empathetic. She doesn't like shows of this kind of aggression. She's very much against Enrique behaving this way, and she just won't have it. You know, and Enrique is like, no, you know, it's the Dodo's a dumb slave, and he deserves it. It's the only way to get through to him. He's a liar, right? So Henrique he's already infected with treating black folks as and then slaves as things. In other words, we're into the thinginess. That's maybe a new word. I think I've heard it. I don't think it's my original word, but the thinginess of black people, the dehumanization of black people. They have no right. They have no say in what's going on. Are you crazy? They only understand abuse, verbal assault, whippings, beatings. That's how you get what you. That's how you get them to comply. That's how you get black people to conform. I watch a show. I watch a lot of shows from the 70s. There's a mental reason for liking what we like. Uh, you got to watch a show called Criminal Minds to understand. There's an episode that talks about that. But there's a show from the 70s I like. It's called The Planet of the Apes. Great book. Turned it into a series. A lot of movies came out of it. But the 70s television series has an ape in it. The apes control the world, and they're walking around. They handle guns. They're not very technologically advanced. They're copying books and stuff that humans have left. The Earth has just um, um, evolved, where the humans are slaves and the apes are in control. Anyway, there's this. He's like a police captain or something, very abusive towards white folks. I mean, not, well, the the humans, slaves, most of them are white on Planet of the Apes, this television series. But he's very abusive to humans. This his idea to get a human to do what you want. You got to slap him around, abuse him, and beat him. That's his mo. That's how uh, he's because the humans are just things to be had. There's an episode where they have one of the humans, and this ape doctor is going to do experiments on the brain, and the doctor's like, well, he could have brain damage, he could die, and this gorilla captain is like, whatever, who cares? That's what they're for. We got plenty. Matter of fact, in the book, one of the opening scenes is the gorillas go out kind of on a safari hunt of humans and are just killing humans indiscriminately, So the humans have no value in there. This is the same scene in slavery time America where black folks, are just just objects like pens and goats and things like that. Cups, no value except what the kind of work you could get out of them. And of course, they're okay to lay down with their women most often and produce these children. Henrique is right on point with that. And I bet back then, boy, I bet you had some nasty, nasty white kids. I had a babysitter, and her oldest son was an extremely, almost demon possessed kid when it came to black children. Little black children. He loved to beat on us when when he had the chance. Very abusive, right? And I'm so stupid. I don't know. We eventually stopped going to her, but you know, I'm not understanding that I need to speak up against this abuse and stuff. And it went on for a little while, you know, but just being my mother would drop us off to these places, and so my mind is like, well, this must be the safe place, even though this white kid is showing up and beating on me indiscriminately. It's like, whoa, dude. Uh, they're very poor military family. Boy, he's the kind of guy you'd see his face, the kind of guy that would be like mass shooting material, evil dude. Yeah, very, very disturbing individual. You know, I was glad to be finally not go there anymore. Trust me. So in slavery times, oof, well, what kind of spoiled white child with all that power had? Oh boy, that must have been hell on earth. That's Enrique. So do you understand this guy now? Um, Fortunately, Eva is present. She objects. Enrique, he's you know he's that. Well, he's a wannabe alpha. I'm not going to designate him as an alpha, but he's in control. Pretty white girl. Although it's his first cousin, he can't go too far with that. And some of that sexual energy is apparent in the text. But he, looked good. He's got his horses. He's this is how to be master type dude. Eva's not having it, so she comes in with her tenderness and stuff. Enrique's like, okay, he dares not, disappoint her or create an atmosphere where he's going to push her away or anything like that. So He acquiesces to her soft intentions and understanding and nurturings and things like that. So Eva gets him to promise not to beat Dodo in front of her. He doesn't promise not to beat him ever again. He says so. At least he's going to take pause, look over his shoulder before he beats Dodo. Make sure Eva's not looking on. We get the Eva and Henrique on the horses, and this is the second time in the text where Eva gives a kind word, a ray of sunshine to a black slave, and she's like, thank you, Dodo. You did hit well with the horse. Thanks for helping out and stuff. And it brings tears well up in Dodo's eyes. I'm sure this white angelic creature, sitting up there saying this stuff to him from above, really helps him out, because the text says that, he does go away, him and Tom go away to brush the horses down again and get them cleaned up. And, it says when he returns, you could tell that Dodo has been crying. There's been he's been processing this. And I'm sure, like, his mind, and even in his light skin, he's not black, he's mulatto. But he's like, I bet you he's going through some changes in his mind. Who are these white folks in control? I can walk and talk and handle things just like the rest. And it's I think is where people, non-white people, and people who are not part of the mainstream, I think it's a process everyone goes through. There's an up there, and there's a us and them going on in the world, exacerbated in America. America really tears the hell out of that. But it's like, man, I never have enough. I can't get the resource. If I just had enough more wiggle room, elbow room out here, I know I could get something going. And so I bet you Dodo has that piece of cognition going on in his mind. So he's heard and all that. So Eva's words are really a ray of sunshine to him. Saint Clare and Alfred see this. Now they're watching. They're letting Henrique go on with this. Shame on these fathers for for not using this as a teaching moment. But see, they're beating on the slaves, right? And the slaves, it's the thinginess, it's the dehumanization. So it's a matter of course. Same way you correct a dog or a horse. So he's beating on the slaves. So they're just watching, just letting it go on autopilot. And Alfred says, "Oh, I can't do anything with Henrique. Just how he's growing up. He's becoming this tyrant. Oh, well, he's the oldest, so he's favored. He's going to probably run Alfred's plantations someday. He's being groomed, and he's got to start somewhere. Why not beat up on Dodo and to call Tom a liar and all this stuff?" And St. Clair and Alfred then go into this debate over some of Thomas Jefferson's words about all men are born free and equal. And we'll end there. We're going to finish this chapter tomorrow. And talk a little bit about Thomas Jefferson and James Madison, how slavery, black people are encoded in the Constitution, and how that's very problematic for black people today, having that document um, with with this hidden language about how black people are oriented in America. I'm Thomas Nyback. That's day 207, 365 days towards racial change. Please come back tomorrow. We're moving right along. Have a great weekend.